This is Steve Cochran with HomeCraft Gutter Protection. I want to go over a couple basic items that we need you guys to do when you show up on the job. Number one thing that we want you to do is look presentable and be ready to do the job with a proper attitude. The second thing is anytime that you get to the job, we want you to immediately go to the homeowner's door. We want you to identify yourself with the homeowner of what we do. You should have a badge or some type of shirt or a hat that lets them associate us with HomeCraft. This eases the homeowner's mind and lets them know that you're with the company. Number one thing is you got to have the proper attitude to do this job. So if you're having a bad day, it needs to be in check before you ever knock on that homeowner's door. Knock on the homeowner's door, put on your best smile, and see what you can assist them with the contract. If there is any discrepancy in that contract, we want you to get a hold of your supervisor immediately to solve any issues that's resolved. If you don't know the answer to something, we want you to keep your mouth shut, because we want your supervisor to be able to deal with it. What we don't want to do is lose a job or a contract that we have on a job because of basically ignorance. We want to make sure that we have all our I's dotted and our T's crossed whenever we go to that door and we understand the scope of the work for that job. If there's any question at all, contact your supervisor immediately. Thank you. Allow me to show you some tools that you're going to need to do the job properly. You're going to need a caulk gun. You're going to need some snips. You're going to need a cordless electric drill. You're going to need a hammer. You're going to need a utility knife, a measuring tape, writing utensils, and some gloves to protect your hands. You'll need a level, whether it's a torpedo level or a 2-foot level. You'll need either or. You'll need a pouch and you'll need a square. We recommend that you use an electric blower, not a gas blower. This keeps the driveways from getting oil on it, and it also keeps gasoline off the shingles if you have to blow some of the roof off. You're going to need geocell, and you're going to need hangers. Over here, you're going to need ladders, of course, for the job to be done properly, and you're going to need standoffs. We recommend standoffs on every job. This protects the home and it protects the gutters from getting damaged. That should basically cover your essentials of what you need. Sometimes you might get into some larger ladder sizes and things like that, but for the most part, all these tools I just showed you will do every single job that we do. All right, now we're going to take a look at the product. This product comes in 4-foot sections, straight from the factory. This is how it's boxed up, nice and neat. This is how the product looks. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It's called raised screen technology, and what that basically means is the screen pattern is elevated in some areas. The diamond parts are elevated, and what that does is it keeps it breaks up the water, the tension from the water. When it comes down, it goes into these grooves and it kind of spreads out. Each diamond works like a little dam that keeps the water from just rolling right over the screen. It's a stainless steel product, very, very durable. It's an aluminum frame. It's very, very strong. All right, I want to show you a couple of things about the product that's important. These pieces come in a factory's 4-foot section, and what they do is they have a inch overhang basically on each side of it. Okay, What happens is though, is when you try to put this together, because this overlap and this is overlapped, you cannot put it together on the gutter and bring the seams in tight. So the first step into putting together a really good job is to cut the what we call tabs out of it. So what we do is real simply we're going to come right down the side of it and we're just going to cut the metal. And what we're going to do is notch it out a little square on both sides, just like that. We're going to do the same thing on the back. It doesn't take a whole lot, but it just gives us the freedom to push the product together. So as we cut this out, we just want to make that piece disappear. And what we do is we're going to do the same thing to this side. Okay? So once it's notched out, the best thing to do is you can raise one up a little bit, like this, and you can push one down a little bit, just like that. You don't need a whole lot, but all it's going to do, all we're doing is creating just a little tension, because when we come over this and we wind up putting this together right here, and we wind up putting the screws in it, what's going to happen is it's going to go together like that. Alright, what we're going to do now is we're going to clean out the gutters. What we want to do is make sure that we get all the debris out as contracting. So we're going to get these things cleaned out. A lot of debris in here. We're going to scrape it pretty good through here. As we're cleaning out the gutters, we don't want to make a mess around the house. It's the #1 complaint homeowners have against us is if they're going to make a call, they're going to say the installers, they left a mess. Well, we don't want that to happen, so what I always do is take a bucket up with me and we clean it as we go. You can use a trash bag, whatever. If you do clean it up and throw it on the ground as you're doing it, we got to clean up the ground. So the best thing to do is don't leave any debris on the ground. Then I like to just find a spot and just put them back into the wood. Next thing we like to do is now we're going to blow out and clean out the rest of it. Alright, so what we're doing now is we're going to take this blower and we're just going to clean out the rest of the gutters. Now that we've cleaned out the gutters sufficiently, next step is to reinforce the hangers. If you notice these hangers, typical builder grade gutters, they're going to hang the gutters, basically these hangers every 2 to 3 feet. Well, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. In this case, it's a little bit far spaced. They're probably a little over 2 foot space, so we're going to reinforce them with our proper hangers. So what we do is we'll come in here, we'll stick some new brackets in. That looks really good right there. We'll stick some new brackets in as we go down through here. The bubble is everything's falling here, which is proper because it's going and draining right here. So it's got proper drainage away to the drainage, so that we're good there. So now we're just going to pull that nice and tight. Do the same thing over here. You can see how that works there. Now we've reinforced that part. So what we do is we're going to do that around the whole house. All right, so we've cleaned them out We reinforced them, and now what we have to do is we have to seal them. What I always do is I like to inspect the joints just to make sure nothing's coming apart, and everything seems to be nice and tight. A little wear on the original sealant that's in there. What we're going to do now is we're going to use this GeoSeal 2320, and all we're going to do is we're going to go down the seams, and we're going to go around this screw right here, if you can see that, and the seams right here is right through there. And what we like to do is we like to protect it. We like to put enough product on it that we don't like to be skimpy with the product. Go around this down spot. Now that we did all the prep work, we're ready to install our product. But let's recap everything that we've done so far to get to this point. The first thing that we did was we cleaned out the gutters, then we realigned the gutters. After that, we reinforced the gutters with our brackets, and we spaced them every 18 to 24 inches. Next, we sealed all the outside miters, inside miters, and downspouts with the 2320 GeoSeal. So now I'm going to show you how to do a corner. So what we'll do first is we're going to make sure we got it marked here and here. And the second thing, we're going to overlap it just a little bit like this. So we're going to cut this part of the screen. We're going to leave, that's the original line that will go up against the other angle. So let's see if we can't remove the metal on it. It's kind of a simple. So we just cut the second part. And if you'll notice on the screen, it's just about an inch longer for the overlap. We'll kind of pre-bend it here, and then we're going to put it onto the product. So let's go up on the roof and I'll show you what we got. We're going to place it underneath the roof, and we're going to make sure that it goes under it really nicely. And what we're looking for is you got to take a little special time on your hips and your inside corners. The most important thing with this outside miter is we want to make sure it's placed right. Now if you look right here, you'll see the corner that I cut. It's overlapping the gutter itself just a little bit, and what we don't want is that. We want to move it back to where it's even. See how that's even? And this is even. Now we want to make sure that the product itself is pushed all the way down up against the gutter very firmly. If you'll remember, we reinforced it so everything's tight and strong. We're going to place one about dead center. Now if you'll remember that tab that we cut out for the overhang, I left it on there, one part of it, which is this corner. So you got to think about the new piece. I could have cut it off on the ground. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly where it's going to cut, but I know that it's going to cut right in this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut it dead square right here, like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the other piece, and we're going to bring it in from the other side. I'm going to switch sides here, and we're going to place it and secure it better. This is not too bad of a cut, but I'm going to show you how to do it and what it consists of. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our square, and we're going to cut basically an angle on the product, like that. Once we got the angle cut or drawn out, we're going to cut it. And all we're going to do is just go down through the product. Okay, now I'm going to show you how we're going to stick it on the house. So we've been building the outside corner. We just did the left side of the corner of the outside miter. Now we're going to go to the right side of the outside miter and complete it. Now the first thing we like to do is we like to come to this outside miter and we like to bend this metal down. It's really hard to do because it's kind of firm, but bend this metal down to where it just bends down just slightly, because what we're trying to do is take out any type of clay in the wire. Then we're going to take our new product, which you can see here that we cut on the ground a while ago. And we're going to slide it underneath the shingles. Now we got to get it started, and we got to be careful not to rip any shingles. We want to make sure it gets placed, and then once we got it kind of placed, we're going to slide it down into position. Now here's the trick, is we want to be able to get it underneath that extra material we left. We want to be able to get it under it, and it's going to be a little bit hard because we bent it down. So the wire is going to be in its own kind of way, so we're going to have to play with it to get it to go under. And then we're going to position it in the right spot like that. And if you'll notice, the seam practically disappeared. So now that we've gotten it where we want it, we're going to make sure we got a tight fit here. And now we're going to secure it. We're going to take our stainless steel screw. We're going to come back about right in here. Make sure that we don't go too far in because we want to grip the lip. So that completes our outside miter. Alright, so we finished the outside miter. Now we're going to move on to the straight runs. If you look down through here, you can see the straight run that we're doing. Earlier at the truck, I showed you the importance of cutting out the tabs. I would pre-cut every one of them out so you don't have to deal with it once you're up on the ladder. This is why it's so important, is because these seams have got to disappear. So we're going to bend this one up just a tad, and we're going to bend this one down just a tad. So one's going up, one's going down, and the pressure it's tight. So let's bring this in, get it started here. Pull it tight together, make sure it's placed good. Like that. And we'll go down to the other side. Alright, and that completes that part of that straight run. Alright, so we've came from the outside miter, we've ran all this straight here. We're coming up on the next inside miter. This is a different cut. We treat it differently. Sometimes when you get into the inside miters, you're going to see these shields. These shields, all they do is keep water from overflowing. But what we usually do is we take them off and move them out of our way, because we need to put the screen in. So we'll take these off. Pretty easy. We're going to lay it to the side. So what we're going to do is, if you look right here where it starts versus where it ends, which is for the back side of this gutter. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure from the back side of the gutter And I'm gonna hit the back side. No, I'm not worried about the front. I'm hitting the back side. And then I'm gonna measure it. And what it is 30 and 3/8. So I'm just gonna say 30 inches to be safe. I'm gonna take a little bit off of it, that way I don't have to bind it in case it's crooked back there. So we're gonna say 30 inches. That's 30 inches from the tab to here. So I know that we can cut that straight. So the next part of this is just cutting it straight. And we're just gonna cut now. And we're gonna get right here, we're gonna cut that. We've got it cut, but as you remember, we have the tab. Can't do anything without removing the tab. That tab's gonna get in your way every single time. So we just cut it, move it out of the way. I'm gonna cut this back as well because it's gonna get in my way at the top and cause it to give me a headache as well. So we're just gonna cut this. What we want to do is apply the pressure upwards. One going up, one going down. Now we got to put it into the... Alright, so I pulled this piece back out because I made one little error. And we have to cut this part of it out because we don't want any rain coming down the roof and hitting this flat part and running off. So we're going to remove this one piece. So we pre-marked it. We're just going to cut this off right here. This. And what I like to do here is after we cut it, really don't necessarily cut it down through there. All I do is bend it. So what we're going to do is, now that we got it cut, what we're going to do is bend this piece like this. Just bend it down. Okay. So now we're going to put the piece back in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut this last one out. We're going to measure from the front to this front corner. So we got really 12 and a quarter. 12 and a quarter inches. So let's cut that out. Back with my square. So now we're going to cut it out. So I'm going to just pre-mark it. Like so. And I'm going to move 12 and a quarter inches from this point to here. We're going to do the same angle like this. Cut that out. And hopefully it's not too long. Alright, so we got the outside cut. If you look right here, that's how that's going to go. But now we got to cut the inside. So I knew I had this marked a while ago for this piece. Now we're going to come straight across like this with it, and we're going to notch it out. So we're going to cut here, and then we're going to basically come up to that line that I've already made before. So cut that out. we went ahead and installed this other side. It's you can see it's kind of mitered up. Now, if you look right here, these shingles are a little short. So what we're going to do is we're going to get with our bosses, and we're going to see if we can get permission to cut back these shingles just a little bit, because it needs a little bit more space right there. And also, we added the guard back on it, and it just helps if it does get overflow. It will. Now, this could catch some leaves, but if it does, it's a lot easier to clean out this one little part of it than the whole system. So anyway, that wraps it up. All right, so we're finishing up. It's been a long day. We're finishing up the last couple of pieces, and what we want to show you is the end cap, how to properly do the end caps. So right now, I got this corner already cut, and we're going to move it into position. What I'm looking to do is just get a rough feel of exactly where we are. Okay. So what we want to do is when we cut this, the idea is for us to cut off this excess screen right through here. We're going to cut these rails out right through here. Then we're going to cut it at an angle to where it folds down and it goes inside of the gutter. So if you look right here on the end, you see the end cap? The end cap really comes inside about 1/4 of an inch. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it right there at that 1/4 of an inch. We're going to make sure that we cut it and so it folds down on the inside of it. So let's pull this off. Do is we're going to take this mark out here, cut it underneath here. I'm just going to put a little V in it like I did before. It just lets my snips go all the way through like that. And then what's going to happen is we're going to continue cutting this all the way through like that. And then we're going to cut the back side as well. So what we're going to do is and we're just going to eyeball it. It's nothing fancy or nothing. We're going to come right here to this and just say, hey, we got to cut it right here. So we're going to cut this out. Now the next part is we're going to cut the screen out. So I'm going to come right here and I'm just going to trim this screen out of the metal. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. So what happens is we have this excess, which is way too much. We know it's too much because if you look right here, there's only about an inch that it falls from once it goes under here, maybe 1.5 inches. And then we want enough that it's hugging the inside of this cap on the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this off about with what we need. So we need about 2 inches or so. So we're just going to cut this across like that. Something like that. Now, if I put it back up here and we was to fold that in, this part won't hit anything because as it folds, it's going to be at an angle like this. You can kind of see the angle it's kind of taking. But up here, when you fold it, it's going to get to that back wall. So when you was to fold it down, see the back wall, it's going to hit that back wall. So what we want to do is we want to cut it at an angle like this. And I'll cut this just a little bit too, it won't hurt nothing. But the main thing is we got a piece that looks something like that we got to fit into the gutter. So now the trick is we know that this is going to break where we cut it. So now what we have to do is we're going to have to, if you have a mender or any type of small brake, sometimes you can bend it pretty easy, but what we're going to do is just use our hands. So we're going to eyeball where it needs to be broken at, right here and right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my hands, and I'm going to put a lot of pressure and get a real good clean break on it. See, I'm trying to get a straight line across it. Okay? Now, I'm going to do it just the opposite. Now that I got that really nice and bent, I'm going to bring it back out. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten all this stuff out. And I'm going to use my fingers right here, mending it together to form a good, strong line. Like that. Okay? Now, the next trick is, during this whole process, we've been using the screen as a spring, kind of. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend this outwards. We're going to bend it outwards, like that. And the point of that is to where it puts pressure up against the outside of this cap. It's just going to apply the pressure on it. So that looks good. Now let's get ready to put this back into play. So we got to get this back under the shingle. Same old battle. We got it underneath there. We got to get this beyond that hanger that was in the way. So we just got to start working it towards this end. So what we're going to do is we're going to work it, and hopefully it will all go together really nicely. So as we come down through here, now as you can see, it's a very nice crisp cut, and it finishes it. So anyway, you guys get out there, have a lot of fun, and I hope this helps. If y'all have any questions, just contact the HomeCraft office and get a hold of our install manager. Anyway, thank you. Have a great day.